Hello, and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm participating in a YouTube hop with All About the Mouse, where we scrapbook pictures that have to do with Disney. And today's theme is based on a photo to be inspired by it, and it was a photo of the entrance to Epcot for the Festival of the Arts. I've never been to that one, so I'm doing, and I also don't have any more pictures of Future World or Figment. He was part of the picture. So I am going to be doing some pictures from my Disney cruise back in 2014. And I cut out these papers from watercolor paper with a die cut that I got from an Etsy store called Scraps and Ink. And it's an art palette with the paint chips being Mickey Mouse shaped. So first of all, I'm starting with my watercolor palette that I have from Art Philosophy by Prima, and it's their metallic pastel accents. It has some silver in it, so I'm just painting the silver part of the paintbrush. After that, I'm going to use Distress ink. I didn't want to use the pastel colors because I didn't think that really looked like the classic Disney colors that was in the photos that I'm using. And I'm going to be using some photos of the dinner called Animator's Palette, the restaurant called Animator's Palette on the Disney Wonder. I think they also have that restaurant on all of the other Disney cruise ships, but I'm not sure. I'm using scattered straw for the bristles of the brush, and for the handles I'm using black soot. And this is the first time I'm using Distress ink as painting as watercolor. And there's a lot of mediums that you can use. You can, of course, use the regular ones that come in a tin like I had a while ago, or you can use things like the Tombow markers that are watercolor, and there's also watercolor pencils. I did speed up the video quite a bit because this process does take quite a long time doing all the watercoloring and stamping, so I didn't want you to have to watch me do this for a couple hours, so I did speed it up, but it is a pretty easy process to do. For the title, I cut out the letters for Animator's Palette on my brother's Scan and Cut, and I used the font New Waltograph, which you can get on most font websites, and it's free to use for personal use. So I'm just using the negative space to glue in the letters just to make sure I have them spaced right and try to keep them even. Although the problem with this, when you see me removing it, some of the letters kind of stuck. So it was good, but the glue does dry fast, so that was the problem with using this. And also, I couldn't find the A, but after I stopped recording, I did find it. I liked how this font turned out because it really did look a lot like the logo they have at the restaurant. And this restaurant was the one we were most excited to eat at because my sister and I have always been Disney fans, and I've always been interested in how they made the animation movies. On the Disney cruise, you rotate between restaurants, but your waitstaff go with you. So we were fortunate that our schedule on a 7-day cruise, we got to eat at the Animator's Palette 3 times. And the one night we missed because we went on a dog sled trip was not at the Animator's Palette, but it was at their more casual restaurant that you could go to for some breakfast and lunch. Now I'm going to be stamping some Mickey Mouse and Friends images, so it'll be Mickey Mouse, his head, and Donald Duck, Goofy, and Pluto, since those are kind of classic ones. And I'm kind of making my own pattern paper because I wanted black and white cartoon characters. I wanted classic images. So these stamps are from EK Success, and it's called Disney's Mickey Mouse and Friends. Now the ink I'm using is called VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink because on one of the pages I'm going to be doing watercolor. So I'm going to do a double page layout, and this one with the title will be the first page, and then the second page will be just all the stamping. And on this one it's just going to be black and white. Whereas on the other page I'm going to start adding watercolor so it looks like it goes from black and white to completely colored. So the reason I'm using the VersaFine Clair, it does stamp very dark, so the images will be clear, and also you can use this ink with water, so doing watercoloring, and the ink won't smear. This is the second page that I stamped off screen, and I'm going to just add color gradually from one side to the other. So the right hand side is going to be completely colored in, and the left side I'm going to start with the tea dye. So I'll go through and color in the Mickey Mouse face and Goofy's face with the tea dye, as well as doing the palette, so it looks kind of like a wooden palette with the tea dye. At the Animator's palette, the wait staff, I think they start with wearing everything black and white outfits that has actually kind of this look to it, and then the lights start off black and white, and the lights start changing color till you have a lot of color in the room. And then around the room, there's different screens with the Disney characters and pictures of the different animated movies. And those start off looking like black and white sketches and gradually add color. So that's why I'm adding color gradually across this page. So it kind of looks like what was going on in the restaurant. We went on this trip in 2014 with my mom and dad and my sister and my aunt to celebrate my parents' 50th anniversary. So their anniversary is in October, so we could have gone the time we did, which was in July, or waited to the next summer to go. But it turned out fortunate that we went because my dad had had a stroke many years before and was handicapped. But sometime after we returned, he fell and hit his head, and he gradually declined, so that he really wasn't able to travel after this. So we were glad that we went because this was the last vacation that my mom and dad were able to go on. Now I'm using Wild Honey to color in, of course, one of the Mickey heads for the paint chips, and then I'm coloring the Donald Duck bills and also Pluto. I'm just starting partway over so that there's just one color added as I go further across the page. As I mentioned earlier, my sister and I have always been interested in the Disney animation, and I loved when they had the animation tour at the Disney MGM Studios. We went there when it was kind of really new, before they had very many attractions, and we actually saw them animating the Little Mermaid. And so it was really cool when the Little Mermaid came out in the theaters that we could say, like, one time she's up on this rock, oh, that's the one that we saw one of the artists painting. And then there was another one we saw and said, oh, that's where we saw someone drawing that scene. So I found that tour very interesting. And if you have pictures of that, this type of method would be really good for the animation tour if you have pictures of when that was at the Disney MGM Studios. The next color I'm using is Spun Sugar, and I'm just using that for the inside of Donald Duck's mouth, so that color goes a lot quicker. The only problem with this one is it's really faint, so it's really hard to see on the palette. If I had a color that was just a little bit darker, I probably would have used that, but my next color up was Worn Lipstick, and I didn't think that one looked very good. And now I'm moving on to the blue color, which I used Salty Ocean. And that one is just on Donald Duck's hat. And I started about halfway over for that one. Or maybe it's more like a third. Now I realize that a lot of this is going to be covered up with the pictures and the other cutouts that I did. But I wanted to color it all in because then I don't really know exactly where the pictures are going. You could figure that out ahead of time so that you didn't really have to stamp or color there. But I wanted to get a random look, so I thought this was better. And with the randomness, you can see it's not like really evenly spaced with all my stamping. But I think that'll be okay because when you cover up with the photos, you won't be able to tell that so much. I didn't have enough colors for my palette, so I did use the black soot again for one of the Mickey Mouse ears, because the idea is that an animator painted these. So even though I used ink and stamped the Mickey Mouse, I wanted it to kind of be like they did paint the Mickey Mouse ears. Now the other colors I'm using is on Goofy's hat and Pluto's collar. I used Mowed Lawn, and then I used candied apple for the tongues of all the different characters. If you are interested in any of the products that I'm using, I will put a list of all of those in the description below. Some of those will be affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that those links generate, and that helps support my channel. I went ahead and backed all my photos with black cardstock off screen, and I used some photo squares or photo splits to attach them to the cardstock, and then I put some on the back, and that's how I'm attaching them to my page. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of a YouTube hop with All About the Mouse, so I'll leave a link to the other people that are participating in the description below. Please hop along and give everyone some support, and also get some good ideas of how to scrapbook your Disney pictures, and also maybe some new techniques that you've never tried. I created this tag off screen, and it's just a cutout from Doodlebug Fun at the Park, a 12 page they have of different tags. And then I just added an eyelet, and you saw me putting on the ribbon to give a little splash of color. And then I just found some artistic stickers in my Creative Memory sticker collection. I just used some Nouveau Deluxe glue to glue down my die cuts and my tag. You want to make sure that if you use glue that you're using one that is acid-free. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and I also appreciate if you leave comments below. I love hearing from everyone who's watching the videos and see what you think about the layout or the video. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel. And if you're already a subscriber, I want to thank you so much for continuing to support my channel. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.